when I read, this is Acts chapter 8, when we are taking the story of the Ethiopian eunuch, he was coming from worship and going to Ethiopia, coming from this, you will remember that it is Ethiopia that still kept the Sabbath when the rest of Rome was not keeping the Sabbath. The influences could have been coming from there, and he was coming from worshiping. It is without question that God, the God of the Pentateuch, had taken roots in some of the hearts of the people of Africa. It is without question. And actually, Zephaniah tells us that from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, and this is from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia where I'm standing right now, my people shall raise and they shall offer offerings. That was the promise that was given. And even Zechariah tells us that the people of God, in Zechariah we are told that 10 people shall come to one Hebrew and get hold of him and say, what is it that we have to do? We need to see the Lord because of the influence of the impact of the blessing. And now the names that were assigned to God were indicative of the fact that they knew both the immanence and the transcendence of God. Like I have cited the Ashanti example of Yame, Onyame, which means when he is in me, I am filled. That is the concept of God. The names, like the example, I will break your tongues a little bit, you will pardon me for a bit. I will pick the Zulu and the Ndebele example. Unkulunkulu and Umvelingane. These are two names for God in the Zulu and the Ndebele culture. They arise from a mythology that Umvelingane was the first appearer. He is the one who appeared first before anything took place. And then he came down to planet Earth. And then when he came down to planet Earth, he made himself dirty. That communicated his immanence before the advent of the missionaries. And Ido actually says the proper names for God, like Yamba, which occurs in parts of Nigeria, are noticed in the form of Yamde, Yemde. Do you see that? It's also similar to the Hebrew tetragrammaton Yahweh. Yamba, Yemde, Nyam, I don't know how to pronounce that one, Ndiambi, and Onyame, Nyame among the Akan of Ghana and the Nilotic peoples and of Greater Sudan. And this cannot be explained simply by coincidence, but it communicates the relationship that these people had with their own. And another very important and pertinent thing is the Sabbath vestige in Africa. You pretty know that the Sabbath was preserved in Africa. Ellen White actually says this in Ministry of Healing, page 1. This is not the quotation. I'll correct this answer. It's not, I think it's not 143. I'll correct the citation. It should be great controversy. In lands beyond the jurisdiction of Rome during the Dark Ages, for many centuries, the bodies of Christians remained almost wholly free from papal corruption. They were surrounded by heathenism in the lapse of the ages, and they were affected by its errors. But they continued to regard the Bible as the only rule of faith and adhered to many of its truths. These Christians believed in the perpetuity of the law of God and observed the Sabbath of the fourth commandment. And churches that held to this faith, practice existed in Central Africa and among the Armenians of Asia. So in Africa, the Sabbath was preserved. The preservance of the Sabbath in Africa stems from the African concepts about the attributes of God. A good case in point, I'll go back to the Ashanti in Ghana. Williams observes that among the attributes of the Ashanti, Nyame, that's God, stands out the attribute Bore Bore. I pronounced it well, yes. Bore Bore, which actually means creator. An exact equivalent in sound, not only in sound, but also in significance, with the participle bore of the Hebrew verb bara, to create. So the Ashanti knew that God is the creator. In my language, he is called Umdali, because he is the one who created. The Nyame called him Nyankopon, signifying Nyame alone, who is the great one. Nyankopon Nkwame, which means Nyame alone, the great one, to whom Saturday is dedicated, which is assuredly an easy equivalent, the Lord of the Sabbath. So now, having looked at these things, what's the biblical hermeneutics versus the cultural hermeneutics? We are now trying to contextualize, to bring it to Mother Africa. Having looked at all these similarities that are there, that we find in the Pentateuch, that are similar to the culture that we have, when the close affinity of the Pentateuchal culture and the African ethos is taken advantage of, ministry to the people in Africa will be made easier. And secondly, while proper biblical hermeneutics will not negate the context, the major difficulty in contextualizing the scripture is deciding what are the cultural or time-bound elements in a passage and what are the supra-cultural eternal principles. So we have to rise above the culture and look at that which is above the culture. And while some scholars have concluded that cultural hermeneutics is the first step to biblical hermeneutics, one challenging question would be, how far then can we go in contextualizing the gospel without lapsing into a syncretic compromise of the gospel with non-Christian cultural elements? Because we have said the culture of the Africans, just citing a few examples, is almost the same as the culture of the Pentateuch. Then how far can we go without shifting into syncretism? Maybe the conclusion could be, while the closeness of the African culture to the culture in which the Pentateuch was written may make it easy for Africans to understand the Pentateuch, putting African cultural lenses ahead of biblical hermeneutics must be avoided. When contextualizing the gospel, a balance between accepting the people as they are for the sake of ministering to them and ratifying Irenaeus' teachings must be struck. And culture has a bearing in the way that we interpret scripture. So it is also possible that hermeneutics on the continent may be influenced by culture. It is highly possible. The danger of over-contextualizing, which leads to the emergence of deviations like liberation theology. So if we over-contextualize, we are in a danger of going to liberation theology and even feminist theology, because we are taking the thing too far, like the previous speaker spoke about. And also, I have coined the hermeneutics that uses cultural lenses above the biblical injunctions as ethnocentric hermeneutics. It raises a culture to a higher level. It raises culture to a higher level than scriptural injunctions and is bound to create divergence from the truth. So while it will be wise to use the culture in which the Bible was written to understand the original intent of scripture, or ignoring the culture of the people being ministered to may amount also to under-contextualization. So since all the cultures are fallen, not one culture could be above scriptural injunctions. So all cultures should be subject to the supracultural and eternal principles which are found in the Bible. Asante sana.